Welcome to All Worn Out. I'm your host, Warren Meredith. On the show today, Cliff Menzies of Ottawa band Cevilain. Cliff's lead vocalist and a guitarist in the band. He's a founding member, and they've got a new song coming out every 6 weeks. Let's get it started with Cliff Menzies. Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Worn Out. It's a podcast about music, it's a podcast about what you're passionate about, and it's a podcast about what our guest is passionate about. Today, I am very lucky. The show is thrilled to have the amazing Cliff Menzies of Cevilain. Welcome to the show, Cliff. It's a pleasure to have you here today. I like that you went with the white, I went with the black, and
nice balance here.
Yeah. And to start off, I just kind of want to start right away with a Cevilain question here. You guys dress in all white for some of the new songs. And on stage, I saw you guys are doing that as well.
Yeah.
Is there a symbolic meaning behind the all white?
Yes and no. It kind of started off as a bit of a joke initially because we'd go to a lot of shows and every single rock band wears all black on stage. So we're like, you know what? We should just go out there. Like, we're going to wear all white, like jumpsuits or coveralls. And then we're like, maybe that's a little bit too Slipknot. So we just kind of backed it off a little bit and decided we're going to go all white outfits. And that kind of inspired getting into what we're doing now with the visual aspect of the material that we're creating. So we wanted to have that very, very bright kind of juxtaposition going with darker music. So
it works.
Yeah.
I think it works, and it gets my attention, and I think, must get others. And what I read was that you guys are your favorite alt metal boy band.
Yeah.
And I like that because I think each of you are so personable and so fun to talk to. I want to get more people from Cevilain on here. I know that Ed's gonna have stories. I know I know that Andrew is gonna have stories, and yeah, all of you guys. So
I know you try and keep these somewhat brief. So if you have Ed on here, you might need a couple episodes because that guy can talk for days.
John Ryu got me. I've been trying to keep these down to an hour, and John brought the whiskey. So no, it was an hour and a half before I could shut it off. But
absolutely.
So that's cool. I just wanted to touch on that because it brought that to my mind right away. So you guys started back in 2015?
No. I'm trying to think. Like, it was the original formation of Cevilain was like 2018.
Oh, okay.
And I was playing with two of my best friends is when I kind of first moved back to the Valley from living in Toronto for almost a decade. And we were a three-piece when it first started, and we were kind of more in line with like the blues rock, obviously more on the rock side of that, but heavily inspired by like big rock bands like that. And then when those guys kind of figured out that I was much more serious about it than they were, they stepped out, and that's kind of around the same time that I met Parms. And was able to convince him to come and play, and then we just kind of built out from there. So the way that I look at it truly is that the formation of the band was 2019 when Joel and Ed were part of it as well. When it was the four of us when we solidified the lineup and we became truly Cevilain at that point. So 2019 is kind of the way that I look at it. I know it's cheating a little bit, but that's kind of the way I look at it.
I like it. And I guess even for myself, like, we started in 2017, but I don't really start counting it as well either till about 2019 either. It's kind of weird. And then the whole shutdown came and really messed with our lives.
Oh, man.
When we were, going on a nice incline and a lot of bands, we were trucking along there and bam.
Yeah, things were going really well for the Ottawa music scene. And then,
yes.
I mean, broadly, the whole of the music scene until March 2020. It kind of changed the game for everybody. So, it's nice to see a lot of bands come out on the other side of it. Unfortunately, we did lose a lot of bands, and we lost some of the support in our scene. But it's nice to see people still kind of trucking along.
Yeah, we came
in, so
back with a passion, I think. And
I think so.
Going back in time now, I'd like to find out, where was Cliff Menzies born?
I was born in Ottawa, but I didn't grow up here.
Okay.
I grew up in Carleton Place, so just up the road. Yeah, only very briefly lived in Ottawa. First when I was born, and then I moved here to go to college, and then after that I was in Toronto for a long time, and then I'm back in Carleton Place. So
Carleton Place, like, it strikes me as like a country town or like a country area of Ottawa. Is it like that, or is that not really anymore?
Not really anymore. Certainly when I was growing up there was a very clear divide between kind of the good old Valley boys and then people kind of coming in from the city.
Yeah.
I was, I'm a Valley boy, but I was never one of those, plaid shirt wearing cowboy boots. And that was never me.
What?
So, yeah, it's funny. It's very funny now. It's getting very small city or big town vibes. It's got Walmart now, so
yeah.
It's not the small town I grew up in.
All right. Well, I like to get mad, like old man angry, whenever I like see Canada kids or like Stittsville people being like, "We're in the country," and I'm like, "I grew up in the country, and it's not here. It's not."
You grew up in Winchester, right?
Chesterville, which is Winchester.
Yeah.
It's this. Well, Winchester people don't like Chesterville people. Chesterville, they look down on us, and that's okay. They've got Tim Hortons. They've got like Subway. Chesterville doesn't have anything, but it doesn't matter. We're still cool people,
That's like Carleton Place and Elmont. We'll always have that rivalry. That'll never change.
Exactly. It just goes on, and it's just fun.
Absolutely.
You guys, well, going back in time again, I remember playing a show with you many moons ago, many moons ago, and you were in a band then called Ambrosia Famine, and I was in a band called Ginger Fox.
Yeah.
And I remember my rhythm guitar player, I can't remember, somehow he was dating your wife's
my wife's cousin. Yeah.
And so I remember him telling me, like, these guys are serious. Like, don't mess around. Cliff is very good. And I was like, really? Because back then, quality of our shows were a little bit ups and downsies. And they were just like, yeah, he was telling me that. And then I remember watching guys and be like, okay, he's very serious. He is very serious about doing this.
Yes. Yeah.
Then years later, after I went through the tragedy that I went through that I spoke about in past episodes, people can go through if they want to hear it. I'm driving along in my car, and I hear you on Rebel 101.7. And maybe it's 2018, maybe it's 2019, but I think it must be 2017, maybe even. Like, we're going back a bit.
Yeah.
And I hear you guys, and I'm like, that's Cliff. That's Cliff Menzies. And it really gave me a boost to get going and get moving. It inspired me. So thank you so much for giving me that boost of get up and go. It helped me a little bit back then, and I really appreciate that.
I was thinking about the same stuff on the way over here. Like, going back to those days, that's probably, 15 years ago.
It's a long time ago.
It's almost a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
And just thinking how cool it's been that, we played together back then, and we've played together again recently. Now, it's been a couple of years now.
Still,
and it'd be nice to get back together again. But, really cool to see, how you've been doing and how you've changed and progressed. And, it's kind of like, watching your brother go off and do something cool, Like,
thank you.
It's a lot of fun.
Oh, that warmed my heart right there. It warmed my cockles or whatever.
There you go.
Whatever they call it, it's so true that, like, we have some of the same people come to our shows. Not all, because your music is very different than my music. And I'll tell you something. That's something I like a lot. Yeah. Sometimes when bands' musics are similar, it can create a little inner rivalry in your mind. But with you guys, you have such a cool, dynamic, different sound. It's so modern. It's edgy. And I find the new stuff is even better and different than the older stuff, which we're going to get into. But yeah, it's cool for me that, like, I can just get into it at that level. And then when I met Trevor Phillips.
Yeah, Cannabis Jesus.
That's correct.
What a beauty.
And all that crowd, Kylie and those really Connor and those cool people that support the music scene, I realized, like, wow, there are some really cool amazing fans that just love music. Like, they're just passionate.
We're so lucky. We're so fortunate. Like, we just came off of doing a run of shows. We did 4 shows, and Connor was at every single show. Like, came all the way down to Windsor.
He's
and
incredible.
Was getting the pit going at every show. So
he's amazing.
You know, it's just incredible. We're very spoiled that way. And they are true lovers of music. It doesn't matter what genre. They're out at pretty much every show.
I know.
So it's great.
Their judgment level isn't really there, folks. It's more like just a passion, a love, a thrill of it. And like they get into it. It's amazing to see and to have that in the community. So
absolutely.
I'm also grateful to Cevilain for gathering that group of people up that I met, and I know they were going to Cevilain shows, and Trevor said it was in Ire, but for me it was seeing them come out to your shows, and then I was like, wow, that's so cool that they support.
Truly, I don't believe we have a whole lot to do with it. I think it's them more than anything. You know, they're just absolute beauties, and you know that really helps ignite the scene, and really helps ignite you as an artist when you see these people who are responding so passionately, and not just to what you're doing, but to what your peers are doing as well. So we're so unbelievably grateful for them, and just love them.
Yeah.
So
what was the first music you can remember as a child really striking you?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's kind of strange. Like, my parents had very different tastes in music. You know, my mom kind of likes a little bit of everything, but she was a big like Elvis fan and a big ABBA fan, and liked kind of the older country as well. So I remember the first song that I really liked singing as a kid was Garth Brooks, funny enough.
Common answer on the show, folks.
Could barely say the words, but I just remember having like standing outside the fire was just kind of on all the time. And it's just like, oh, you know, really kind of jived with that.
We're similar in age, and absolutely Garth Brooks was a monster. The country when we were growing up was very good music, and my mom was really into it as well. My mom loved Elvis.
No.
I mean, ABBA, that's fun. I can see that coming through strong in the Cevilain.
Maybe that's where the like the boy bandish influence comes in. But
so then you're in, let's say, grade 7, grade 8. What are you interested in listening to? What CD are you buying, or what was the first CD you bought?
The first CD I bought myself. It was either Clumsy, by Our Lady Peace, or it was A Place in the Sun by Lit. I don't know what it was about that album, but each track on that album was just fun. And you know, my biggest thing is, you know, I kind of categorize my music taste in 2 different ways. It's either, you know, entirely, you know, the front man driven, you know, the lyricist, the melody, or on the flip side, just how ridiculous the instrumentation is. So it's one or the other, and you know, when they kind of meld, it's even better for me. But so probably around that time, very into Our Lady Peace, very into Canadian music at that time, because Much Music was really promoting CanCon.
Yep.
I don't know if it was called CanCon then, but they were really promoting it, and that was very much my jam. A lot of Our Lady Peace.
I liked our Finger 11, yeah. I liked Our Lady Peace as well. I remember being at like a grade 4 or grade 5 birthday party, and like at this girl's house, and like I don't remember, something happened, some drama happened. Somebody got rejected.
Oh no.
I remember the song coming on from Our Lady Peace, and just like just getting so emotional.
Yeah.
Those songs are so powerful, I find. Going back listening to some of them.
Those early days of Our Lady Peace were just absolutely incredible. Don't really know what happened along the way. Like, obviously everybody gets older and their voice changes, but those early days, those first couple albums were just phenomenal. Oh man,
you know?
The control that he had, and making that falsetto so powerful. I certainly can't do that, so kudos to him.
Man, yeah, I remember being in my buddy's room, listening on the radio, listening to that album and putting it on, and being like, Superman's dead.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like, just being a kid, like, I don't understand how you can even say that,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
And gosh, that's a cool memory to have going back to that. So now you're in high school. What are you transitioning to? For us, it was System of a Down, Slipknot, all that stuff. Korn was huge. I was telling Marin at the dances, we had J-Lo and Ja Rule up on the movie screen, baby.
Yeah.
And that's just
well, because that's what you can kind of get down to, right? But yeah. I didn't really get into the heavier stuff until I got a little bit older, probably towards grade 11, 12, college. I was a typical angsty teenager. That was the time that I was getting into like Stained and 3 Days Grace and Breaking Benjamin and so that kind of like I remember when Finger Eleven put out their self-titled album. I think it was like 2003. So that would put me in grade 12. No, sorry, grade 10. And when you bought that CD, it came with a DVD that was like behind the scenes stuff, so you could see them in the studio. And then there was they did a concert of like 7 or 8 songs, and I watched that thing so many times I burnt it out. I had to get another one. So I was very, very heavy into Finger Eleven.
No. Were you playing music at this time? Were you playing guitar, singing?
I didn't start until I was 15. And initially started off just going in and singing, but I felt like such an idiot standing there. I didn't know what to do with myself, didn't know what to do with my hands or how to stand or what to do. So around the same time, my dad had just bought an acoustic guitar and he wanted to learn. So I started bringing that with me to these, quote unquote jam sessions with the guys that I was playing with and just learned from playing with them. So and then eventually, bought a cheap electric guitar. It was like a knockoff Strat, and then kind of saved up my money and got something a little bit nicer, and then really got
really
into it.
dug in.
Yeah.
So
never really took lessons. I think I took lessons for like a week or two, and it was like that. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I just want to go play. I don't want to have to learn about music theory, anything like that. So learned from playing with people.
Has it ever been an issue for you? Has it ever come up where someone's been like, I would like you to tell me some kind of musical theory knowledge?
Nothing's ever really slowed me down in that sense. I did over the years, like I've been playing for almost 20 years now. So I have tried to teach myself a little bit. And again, from learning from people and listening to people talk about it. And, the guys that I play with all come from a very big musical background. Ed is, classically trained and went to school for music, and then the other 2 guys took music engineering as well. So they'll talk about it, and every once in a while I'll have to be like, hey guys, idiot's still in the room. But I pick up on it fairly quickly, and it's never slowed me down, and it certainly doesn't. I think it's almost a benefit to the way that I write, that I'm not thinking in this certain mode, I should be going this way, or it should lead this way. I just kind of write what feels right and what sounds right to me, and then if it makes sense in that context, when we're kind of creating the world with it, then it works out.
Did you write a song first or join a band first?
Okay, so funny enough, what I used to do, and I still do it now, and it drives my wife absolutely insane, is I love taking other people's songs and making them unbelievably inappropriate. I'll take a popular song, change the lyrics so that like you can't speak it in public, and I'll sing it enough times that it gets stuck in my wife's head, and then she can't listen to that song anymore. And I used to do that as a kid. I remember I had this notebook of songs where I just like took the song and I just changed it to make it as filthy as possible, and I hid it under my mattress. And my aunt was visiting one time, and she was like cleaning or whatever, I don't know what she was doing, but she found the notebook. And I was in so much shit. Like my mom was not impressed. But yeah, that's kind of where the writing side started. And then, I kind of felt an obligation initially when I first started playing around 15. I had to contribute something other than just showing up and playing. I just felt like I had to contribute. And now, over the last 10, 15 years, it's just I need it. like my soul needs it to just write and get stuff out and work on stuff. So, you know, I'll always do it, you know, until I can't anymore. I'll always sit down and write things. And, you know, I may not do it to the level that Cevilain's doing now, but, you know, it'll always kind of be a part of who I am.
I think that Cevilain's been able to create steadily and on a very nice path. I mean, you can go back in time a little bit, but I find year after year you guys really put out some great creativity. And you're right, it's very hard to maintain, but I think you guys will continue to do so. And that's really nice to hear that, like, you have such a deep connection to writing. Do you do most of the lyrics for Cevilain?
Yeah, I would say probably 95% of it. Now, we're completely entirely collaborative. So even when I do come forward with something, everybody has their say on it.
Same.
Everybody gets to work on it because it's for all of us. You know, we're a team. Yeah. We comment on everything, and there's no egos in that room. You know, everybody. We're coming from, you know, the same place, and we have the same goals, and everybody understands that, you know, we hear things differently and we expect different things from time to time. So to be able to have those discussions and to feel the freedom to influence everything that we're doing is just really what works for us. So yeah, you know, come with an idea, or any of the other guys will come with an idea, and we always give everybody the opportunity to play with it before we put pen to paper. So
nice. Yeah, I find it's really, I need it. I need the guys to go through the lyrics, especially when we're at studio point and it's like nitty gritty time. And I'm like, I need you to go through this and tell me that this makes sense perfectly. Like, and take out anything. Like, please, because at a certain point with like 4 to 8 songs, your brain starts to go like, there's something wrong here. I know out of 8 songs or whatever, like there's something that's not right. So I need their input, just like you said. And I like to have a say too on what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Although I get kicked out of the room because, like, literally Joe kicked me out of the room on the last album because just the faces I was making.
Oh no!
Because like if he was like, "Dude, this only make a mistake or something," what? Not even a mistake. Yeah. And I was like, "Oh yes," and I guess I was reacting too much. She's like, "Get out."
The wheels start turning. And it's like, okay, well, he's done that, but maybe like, I could tell him to try something different.
Get out of the room, Warren. Yeah. Get out. So I'm like sitting outside in a chair outside the door, just listening. Like, okay, it's going good.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, I totally get what you mean about everybody having a say. That's very similar to what we do, and wanting everyone to feel like they're contributing, I think is crucial.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell them the songs that go the furthest are the songs that all the members believe in 100%. And once one member says, I'm not as big on that song as you guys, you might want to step back from it for a minute and think about it, because without the full support of your team, you're not going to win that rowing race. You're not going to win the relay race, you know, like.
Absolutely.
You need everybody, I find, and that's the best part about a band.
Well, exactly. Or, you know, if you're in a band, it's truly a team. You know, if you're a solo artist and you just simply hire people to come in, that's a completely different situation. You know, I don't really understand the dynamics when you have somebody who is saying, you know, it's my way or the highway, is just not going to work out. And you know, to expand on that, you take a look at like Metallica. I don't know how they operate, you know, with Lars and James constantly butting heads, and they're the ones that have the say on everything. And poor Kirk sitting back just like, don't make me part of this. You know, I don't understand that. That has never worked for me. That'll never work for me. So I couldn't imagine doing it any other way. And, you know, I have worked with people in the past that were very difficult and had very strong opinions, and it was kind of their way or the highway. And there's a reason why I don't work with them anymore. So
yeah, it's very interesting. Like yesterday's guest, he pretty much recorded all the instrumentation on his album and then picked up the band to present it.
Yeah.
So there's different ways of going about it.
Absolutely.
But the way you're doing it is absolutely the way I prefer to do things. No. I don't have like even the guitar ability that you acquired yourself. I kind of similarly picked it up around 15, and learned chords and tried writing songs. Who was like the first artist? Like, when did you remember like singing and really enjoying singing and understanding that I need to sing on stage, maybe?
Oh man, I mean, I always loved singing, and I would always sing in the car anytime we were going anywhere. And I used to be absolutely terrified to go on stage to the point where I didn't really enjoy that part of it for a long time. I really loved being in the room and jamming and working on things, and then having to go out in front of people just made me anxious more than anything. It wasn't until it was a couple of years in before I was like, you know what, this actually is fun. I need to let go of that fear and just live in the moment and enjoy it, and realize that I'm never going to be perfect on stage. There's always going to be something. There's always going to be people that love me, and there's always going to be people that hate me. So and that's totally fine. Once you realize it, that part is fine. There's always going to be people like you have different tastes, and once you let go of that, then you get to really enjoy it. And I really fell in love with performance, playing with the guys that I'm playing with. I feel safe and surrounded with good talented people who prop me up and certainly make me better. So it's been a journey to get here, but
Absolutely
enjoying
a
it,
journey.
really enjoying it.
Take me then pre-Cevilain. I want to know about Cliff right before Cevilain. And
Oh my goodness.
Like right before. Where are you? Are you trying to get back into the scene? Are you trying to get away from it? Are you what is the mindset at this point? And who did you find that made you jump in? Was it Andrew first? Who was the first one that makes you go, this is happening, I'm going all in, and this is happening?
Yeah. So right before starting Cevilain, I was living in Toronto for about almost 10 years. And I had played in bands up until I went and moved to Toronto, and then I just simply didn't have the time. Yeah, Toronto's very expensive, so I was working, three jobs, 16, 18 hours a day. Didn't really have time for it. And then when I started to get the bug a little bit, I would come home, back out this way on weekends, every second weekend, and just kind of picked up where I left off with the guys that I grew up with and playing with them. And then when my wife and I finally had the opportunity to move back home, this is 2016, 2017, I told the same guys, I want to take one final kind of kick at the can. I still feel this drive to do it, and not just do it for the sake of doing it, to do it to see if I can make something of it. And that's kind of where Cevilain started, with that 3-piece, and at that point I was the only guitarist in the band. The guy who I grew up with, Curtis, who it really taught me how to play, and is probably one of the best guitarists I've ever seen. At that time, he's like, well, if we're gonna do this, I want to try something different. I want to push myself, and he became the drummer and taught himself how to play, and that's kind of what we were doing for a little bit. But then as it was getting a little bit more serious and I was pushing them a little bit more, again, they decided that they wanted to kind of focus on other things. My bass player Kevin was starting a family, so he was focusing on that, and Curtis was kind of doing the same. So we had played a show with Crossing Jane. We did an acoustic show with Crossing Jane, and I had already seen Crossing Jane play at Mountain Man the year before, I think. And I remember going to that and seeing Crossing Jane play and thinking, wow, that is the best drummer I've ever seen. I need to steal him. He needs to be mine. I don't care what I have to do, but he will be mine.
I understand.
And I remember looking, and Joel was the vocalist, but he wasn't playing guitar at that time. And I remember looking at him, and I was like, I'm terrified of that man. I want nothing to do with him.
Right.
He intimidates the shit out of me. So how do I steal his drummer? And we just kind of got talking after playing that acoustic show, and Parms has got a lot of energy and can contribute to a lot of things, so he was willing to try it out. So kind of dipped our toes in the water. He kind of liked what I was doing, and at that point I was very focused on making a shift into doing heavier music again. And he's like, okay, well, if we're going to do this, we're getting in the studio, so you better have music ready. And within a month, I think we put together down that 5-track first EP that we did. So, and that's very much kind of Parm's MO. He is an unbelievably hard worker. He's very driven. He has a very clear vision for what he wants and what he expects of people. And really, you can attribute what we're doing and how consistent we are with his drive more than anybody else's. Like, we're all pretty driven guys, and we work pretty hard, but you know, Parms holds us to a very high standard. So
Interesting. I like hearing that. That's intriguing, because I know how driven each of you are and how you all have great journeys to this point. I also think it's really critical and important for people and young bands listening that they heard that Cliff didn't just find these guys. It didn't just work that way immediately. He decided, I'm doing this. It matters to me. I care about it. And then you found some people that helped you get it going. And then you found the people that were like, we're going to go to the next level. We're going to the moon. And I think it's a process. And the fact that you accepted it as a process is probably why you were able to motor that way. When it comes to Parms, I don't know him, but when I see him, I know what you're saying is true.
no,
When I see him from a distance, I understand how hard he works. And I also can see from what the posts are and what people talk to him. There's been 7 or 8 guests who have come in already and said, Parms is amazing. Parms helped me. He's a big deal to me. So it makes sense. That adds up. And Eddie must kind of be, is Eddie the glue?
I would say so. You know, he's definitely the guy that keeps it light. Joel as well. Joel has got the most ridiculous sense of humor. I never understand what he's talking about, but he kills me. He absolutely cracks me up. Yeah, you know, it's such a great and interesting dynamic. You know, everybody has a very clear idea of what they want, but everybody's also very open to discussion. You know, I would say Parms and I are kind of the driving forces on different side of things. You know, obviously him in the studio, and then me with the business side of things. So we make a great team. We absolutely butt heads and fight like brothers. But it comes from a really great place, and you know, we certainly mean the best. And it's been an interesting journey. But yeah, love working with all of those guys, and you know, they're family. You know, more than anything now. So.
I got that sense when we shared the stage across the road from me here at Tailgaters back a while ago. When we saw you guys, when I saw you guys in the room there together, I got the family vibe 100% from all of you guys. So that first EP that you guys did, what came off of that you were very proud of? At the time, at least.
I mean, I'm still proud of it. I don't think it's representative of who we are now, simply because Joel and Ed weren't on it. It was Parms and I that did it.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of great moments on it. I still really enjoy, like, Hush was our first kind of big song that went out there that was played on Rebel.
Yeah.
Still enjoy playing that one live, and I think that was kind of the catalyst for how I wanted to present the lyricism of Cevilain. You know, I wasn't afraid to leave things up to interpretation and not be so direct. You know, I don't love when bands tell you how to think or feel with certain songs. I know that there's a place for it, but that's not really my thing. You know, I like to understand the overarching theme and then find my own place in it. And that's kind of where I come from lyrically. So, yeah, Hush was kind of the one, the catalyst there. And then there's another song that we play in pretty much every one of our sets called Breakdown that was on that one. And that's the one where we kind of added the big drum part in the bridge. So, yeah, those ones, well, we've talked about it a number of times that we're going to go back and kind of play with them a little bit and see what Joel and Ed could bring to those songs and change them up and expand them a little bit. But there's a couple rough moments on that EP too, but I think that came from really and truly, we put a very, very hard deadline on it. Parms was like, if we're going to do this, we need music out now. We're not playing a show until there's music out. So again, hard worker, very driven guy, and he's got a very clear vision and direction and expectations of people. So it works out well.
Taking back a year ago, you guys went to the States. Well, you did a North American tour, and several 6 or 7 dates in the States, I think, and very impressive. Very impressive to someone like myself or any band, I think, that's trying to tour or trying to figure out touring. I think that's very impressive. How was it? How was the experience for you guys?
It was awesome. I mean, there were certainly a lot of challenges with it. One of them being we had so we played our Ottawa show from that run, our hometown show from that run, about a week before we left for the States. And I guess it was like a super spreader event. 40 or 50 people ended up having COVID at that show, and Joel got it. So he was very sick the week leading up to when we left, but was testing negative by the time we were getting ready to get on the road. So we were like, okay, we've got a couple more days before we get to the first location, which was Atlanta. And the poor guy was just like dying on the RV the whole time. He didn't leave his bunk until we, got on stage for the first couple shows. He was in his bunk, and it started to kind of bleed into. I was starting to get sick. I didn't get COVID, or at least I don't think I did because it was testing negative, but it was certainly affecting me. But we learned a lot, and it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of great shows down there. Nashville was absolutely incredible. But yeah, it was a great experience to understand kind of how that works. We lived together for 2 weeks in an RV. There weren't enough beds for everybody, so I shared a bed with Ed for 2 weeks, and we came back a lot stronger than when we went down. We were obviously very close before we went down, but we truly came back, almost inseparable. So it was incredible. It was a lot of work. We did it all ourselves. We booked everything ourselves, found the venues, found the bands ourselves, did all the promo ourselves. So it was a lot of work. I don't wish that on anybody. But if you've got the drive to do it, absolutely do it.
I think that's probably the way to go these days. If as an indie band, sure, if you have great connections, use them always. But I think what you did there, the work is the work. If you're not going to put the work in, you're not going to get to do things like go tour the States.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Kudos for you guys. I think that's so cool, and I was amazed, and when I saw that last year, I was jealous, but in the best of ways. Of ways.
Well, hopefully it's inspiration for people to get out there and do it too. People still talk about there being a lot of competition in music scenes. I don't really see that with a lot of the people that we work with. Like, there's certainly never been that kind of feeling between us and a couple other bands that we play with fairly regularly. So everybody's just kind of doing their own thing, and we have a great community here, and it goes back to the road trip crew as well. Having them be so supportive of everybody, not cherry picking their favorites. They probably have favorites, who knows who they are, but the fact that they're going out and they're supporting everybody and encouraging everybody allows you to let go of that animosity and that jealousy and just be proud of everybody. I love seeing my peers filling rooms.
Yes.
And getting those bigger shows, like seeing you guys hook up with the Lazies and play 27 Club, as much as like we haven't played 27 Club and we'd love to get there. Getting to see you guys go out and do that is so inspiring to us. Cool. and is exciting to us. It's great to see, and it's great to see that people still want to go out and take in live music. So
yeah, you were talking about going out to see shows and being inspired leading up to making the jump back into Cevilain. And like, I remember being at Blues Fest watching July Talk, and I was like, so yeah, I love them. And I was like sitting with some friends, and I was just staring off, and my buddy was like, what are you thinking about? And I'm like, I'm gonna go there. And he's like, where? And I'm like, I'm going on
right there, backstage.
I want that.
Yeah. And you did it.
Well, yeah.
You did it.
And you know, it took years and years and years and years and years. And that's what I understand about the work and what you're talking about. And perseverance. Rejection is only for the day. Tomorrow is a new day. And pick it up and go again. And yeah, man, that you're a man after my own heart in all these musical ways.
You gotta have a thick skin in this industry because you're gonna hear no more than anything else.
Yes, correct. And sometimes things that are meaner than no.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's just like, you have to get a thick skin and try not to take things personally. In the music world, it's like if things work out and like, well, we'll get into it with you because there is something cool here that I want to get into, and that is, what is the impact of Adam Gontier on Cevilain? How big of an impact does this person make on you guys?
It's crazy. It's kind of twofold. I mean, on a personal level, I was absolutely obsessed with 3 Days Grace when they first came out. So to get to work with somebody that I really looked up to and think of as a musical hero was one of those pinch me moments that you never expect that you would ever have something like that. From the band perspective, it's absolutely opened us up to a broader audience and has certainly. Hi, sweetheart.
Sorry, everybody. Sasha's doing her interruption here. I'm very, very sorry, everybody.
Oh, good. You're a sweetheart.
Has to do All right, Sasha, enough.
You lie down?
Lay down.
Down?
No.
No.
Stop trying to... She
lie
wants
down?
to hold his hand.
Lie down.
Cliff is a very nice guy, but you got to leave him alone.
Yeah. My dog's going to get upset.
Yeah, leave Cliff alone.
From the band perspective, obviously, having that access to a broader audience and to get out to a fan base that wasn't necessarily ours or in the same kind of circle as ours was huge. And it's just those are the kind of things that you're working towards. The little milestones that you want to try and reach and to see how it impacts you going forward. It's there's no roadmap to this industry at all. I know you understand that as well as I do.
Difficult.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult, and there's a lot of for every kind of step up the mountain, there's a couple steps down.
Yeah.
So going into working with Adam, like we found out that he was going to be on a track with us back in like late 2019 going into 2020, and that's when the process started. And then of course COVID happened, and around the same time we were having discussions with him and his team that we were going to support them on St. Asonia on their Canadian run of shows, and we had been announced on a couple of them already, but not all of them. And then everything got shut down and the tour got canceled. So we lost out on that opportunity. But, getting to go back into it now and with what we're doing in the context of what we're doing, having the opportunity to kind of bring that song to the level that we want it to be at has been such a weight off of our shoulders and takes a lot of pressure off of us. And, we're just, we're doing it more so for us now because we, it's 4 years removed. We have a better understanding of who we are and what it's going to take to hopefully take those next steps to get to those next levels. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be one of those TikTok viral sensation type things. It is the, take 1,000 steps to see if we can, move a foot kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's better that way. I think the TikTok I think that stuff's very fleeting, and if you can build a career, I think it's better.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We're trying to create stuff that we can look back on and be proud of, and I think we're doing that, and we're trying to create art that will stand up.
Same.
So and again, I'm not faulting people, or I'm not trying to talk down on people that are on the other side of things that are just interested in the viral sensation type things, because they're going to get where they want to go, but at the end of the day, how many times does a fad kind of move on and then you forget about it and nobody talks about it again? That's not for me. So
very, very much so. So with Adam Gontier, first off, I'm not sure. Can you tell me? Is he back in 3 Days Grace?
No. So he has his own band. It's called Saint Asonia. I know that he's over the last year or so he's linked up with 3 Days Grace for a couple shows.
That's what I heard rumors
has
about.
performed with them. But from an outside perspective, it appears that he's really enjoying what he's doing, and
Cool.
I truly believe he's creating the best music of his career. He's going out and doing exactly what he wants to do. There's no predefined way that he has to put out a song. It's not formulaic in the sense that 3 Days Grace is now. Again, no knock on them. They're a big machine, and they're doing their thing, and they're really enjoying what they're doing. But it appears that Adam has way more artistic freedom now doing his own thing, and the guys that he's playing with are all kind of like-minded individuals as well. So it looks like he's at a good place in his life.
I liked seeing that they were able to play some shows together. I like seeing that just because of the fan base that they built together and
the nostalgia,
the legacy,
that
that type of thing. But absolutely the creativity thing, that hits home. I get what you're saying, and he doesn't have to stick to that plan anymore. It's a different, it's a bit of a different game for him, so it can refreshen it and refreshen his energy maybe towards it.
No.
Tell me about how it ends. When does this song come into focus? And did you know as it was being written, and maybe shortly after, or maybe after recording, when did you know this is going to be this is a big song? For us, this is a big deal.
I mean, so we actually we had quite the disagreement on the song initially. Brought the idea in and we were working through it, and it was the first thing that we kind of worked on all together where everybody was collaborating. And, it doesn't really follow a normal song structure. You kind of get teased with a half chorus the first time around. You don't get the full chorus until, after the second verse, and then we don't go back to the chorus. So you really only get a full chorus once. And I remember being really excited once it was recorded, and we actually outsourced for that one a guy named John London, who's the singer in a band called Point North, and he's worked with a bunch of incredible artists like Fever 333 and Atreyu. And I remember getting the first mix back from him and was floored. And I'd never in my entire musical career up until that point ever been satisfied with a first mix before, to the point where I was like, this is done. We don't have to do anything with this. Obviously never knew that it was going to do what it's done for us. Never had any sort of expectations for it, other than the fact that I was just unbelievably proud of it. I thought, that's our sound. That's us. If we never made another thing, that's the impact that we're leaving.
It's a signature.
It's absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's a song that even now, even to this day, what are we going on 5 years later? I'm not tired of it. I love playing it. I love listening to it. It's probably the first thing that I'll jam when I pick up a guitar, and it's just every aspect of that song. It just has affected me deeply, and it has kind of dictated how I do things. So just we and it was a very fortunate time period too, when submitting music, as through certain streaming platforms. Not all of them give you as much access as others do, but Spotify does. With Spotify for Artists, you can submit to editorial playlists and stuff like that. And at the time, you could actually get in touch with the curators. This is 2019, so I remember we submitted the song, and then I sent an email off to Alison Hagendorf, who was the head of rock for Spotify at the time. Never got a response from her, a direct response from her, but not long after, we were on a couple editorial playlists, so something must have worked out, and that kind of helped it take off, and the song hasn't slowed down since. So
interesting. That's like the story with Cleopatra. I mean, not on the same thing, but I mean, they sent her a letter as well. And at least that was the story I was told before their hometown kind of blew up. So, folks, letters. Hey, what do you know? Reaching out and talking to people and telling them you believe in your work.
If you're professional about it, if you are understanding that the person receiving the message from you, it receives tens of thousands of them, and you don't harass them, and you just very simply, hey, this is what we're doing. If you have the chance to listen to it, great, and then forget about it.
That's
just
right.
Let it go and continue doing what you're doing. Then sometimes you might get lucky and catch lightning in a bottle.
Just like a festival application.
Absolutely.
You do it and you walk away.
Exactly.
And you're not worried about it.
Don't hang your hat on it.
No.
Just have a plan and just continue doing what you're doing. Keep forging forward.
So then I noticed, then you guys get into kind of the remakes a little bit. You start remaking some of the songs.
Mm-hmm.
How does that process? Is that difficult to do? Is it fun to do?
I think it's fun. The way that I interpret music and interpret art is that it's constant. It's a living thing, and it's constantly evolving, and your interpretation of it can change over the years. So, I wouldn't suggest going in and doing 1,000 remixes on one song within a short amount of time, but to have the opportunity to go back into something and just get a different perspective, to see what it could potentially be, is a lot of fun. So, we had an opportunity, specifically with How It Ends, to work with Kellen Quinn from Sleeping with Sirens, and there was this great producer out of Australia, Mystique, who does these beautiful symphonic arrangements. So we kind of let them cook and see what their interpretation of it was, and it was a little bit different, a little bit cool. Mm-hmm. And it was fun to put it back out, and it was good timing for us as well. It's hard to take a song that's 3 or 4 years old, that's your biggest song, and to use that as the selling point to book these shows or to book tours and whatnot. Everybody in the industry is like, what are you doing for me now? So,
yes, very much so.
To take that song and to freshen it up and put it back out, I think helped us when we were going down to do those U.S. shows and to do that tour.
Okay.
So timing is everything. So that was part of it. And then, with the other one that we did with Wars,
yes,
with Adam Gontier, that one was a very different way of going about it. The first time we put it out, it was very much a rush job. We were trying to fit in deadlines because, again, we had to offer for those shows. So we wanted to have a song out with him where we were doing those shows to potentially capitalize on that. Because it didn't work out with COVID happening, we didn't want to sit on the song. And that just goes back to being, a band that was still trying to very much figure out what they're about and what they wanted to do. And we kind of rushed through a couple things. So getting to go back into that when we were talking about this album cycle, it was always kind of in the back of our minds that, if we're going to kind of build this new world of what we wanted to do, to take something like that and actually produce it properly and build it out the way that we do with songs would be a good opportunity to get it back out there. So, it ended up, in my opinion, working out very well, and I couldn't be more proud of this version. And it's not a reimagining or a remix or anything like that. It's more so just seeing the vision through.
I liked
finally
Avarice Wars. To me, I liked it. I thought it was a step. It was an improvement. It was like, to me, like How It Ends, like your original How It Ends is like very nostalgic feeling to me already. Like I've heard it and I love it. So like the new one is a nice refresher. It's cool. It's different. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But I feel like Avarice Wars is like an upgrade. I feel like it took like that other song and like the original and made it even better.
Yeah.
So yeah, very cool, and I love the new songs. By the way,
Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, you guys are describing it as post-hardcore, alt metal, baddiecore.
Yeah.
Is baddiecore a thing?
I think so. I think that's kind of what everybody's trying to put these newer bands into. The Bad Omens and the Spirit Boxes of the world, like those types of bands. I've heard that thrown around. So you can't take us too seriously when it comes to the marketing of things. Like we really love to kind of poke fun at things, and we certainly love poking fun at ourselves. So, with the white get-ups and being, the alt metal boy band, and we're trying to show both sides of what we are. Obviously we're very serious about what we're doing and the art, and we have a vision, but on the flip side of things, we don't take ourselves too seriously. So So all those little hashtags and everything, we just throw them in there and see who picks up on it. I'm glad that you picked up on it because I think I just snickered to myself.
I
So.
try and find things that are interesting to me, you know. But I think that the white actually made you guys look even more like legit. Like just it goes with like the white background of the album and all the merchandise and the red stripe on it or whatever, how V, or I guess, and so like very cool. I want to talk to you a little bit about lyrics. I almost never bother or talk about lyrics with anybody. But when I was listening to this song, it kind of struck me. So first, you talked about the sins, all right? So that's the first thing. And then the second thing was when you brought up, gosh, this isn't that song. The Avarice Wars one. Oh, gosh. Anyways, what I was going to say was, is there any references to the Catholic Church in this song? Is there any references to like F Catholicism or F Christianity and what they've done to our people?
No, we'll never outwardly come out and condemn.
Oh, rosaries. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So the rosaries struck me with this combination of the sins.
Yeah.
So I kind of picked up on this a little bit, the religious theme.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're trying to pull in those themes and those visuals. The way that I look at it from the lyrical perspective of it is that the Catholicism or Christianity is really kind of Western's mythology in a sense.
Yes.
And I know I'm going to get heat for that because, and again, this is coming from a place of
it's all personal, people. So if you got a problem,
so
whatever,
I'm not trying to knock faith, anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just everybody has their own interpretation.
You wouldn't be the first though. Like rock music, it's all good, people.
For sure. So in going about it and kind of touching on those themes, I needed to draw from something that was relatable for me and for our audience instead of grabbing from somebody else's mythology.
Yeah.
So
it brought thoughts to my mind, like you say, like lyrics are so personal and like they trigger different memories and different thoughts in our minds, and it started like making me think about like the sins like that we committed against all the natives years ago through the churches and the residential schools, and that started triggering in my mind, and thinking just about that type of stuff.
It's a very visceral thing, for a lot of people. So again, coming from a place of honesty and empathy, I can understand that it could be very triggering for people, and I hope that the messaging of the song is what I intended in it, being hopeful and understanding that we are just as much a part of that legacy, that we can't be blind to it, we can't turn a blind eye to it, we have to accept that we're part of that. That's the only way that you can truly affect change. So we are very comfortable in the Western world in thinking that our way of life is the only way of life, and it's the only right way to do things, and we have a very long history, as you've alluded to, of being just as bad in a lot of instances as everybody else. So
you could talk about the colonialism of South America and the Spanish and what Christianity did down there, and there's lots of stuff that's
we'll need JS back for that.
Our
history buff.
Exactly.
So,
there's no it really, I mean, I think you're very kind and considerate to put that out there and let people know like that you're not trying to insult or hurt anybody. But I didn't take it that way when I was listening to it. But I did like start getting visions through that messaging, and I think that's a good thing. And both of those songs strike me as excellent.
Thank you.
Post-hardcore, is that like Alexis on Fire?
Yeah, Alexis on Fire, Thrice.
Because I was kind of getting that feeling, like I don't listen to a whole bunch of that style, but I did listen to a lot of Alexis on Fire back in the day, and like that vibe I was kind of getting a little bit of.
High energy, breakdowns, the song structure, stuff of that nature. It's funny, again, going back to those hashtags and the fact that you brought it up, like I really don't like talking about subgenres. I find it very frustrating because you never know for certain where things kind of fall in, right?
Yeah.
I just kind of look at things in the broader terms of, we're a rock band, or that's a pop band, or that's whatever. Trying to get down to the minutia of, okay, well, where do they really fall in? I don't care much for that conversation, but I understand its place. But it's just so much easier if you're a little more open-minded. So again, throwing those hashtags out there for social media is really me just kind of like poking fun at it.
Well, you got to find groups of people to find your music, and I think that's where genres, and also producers can't know every darn genre. They kind of got to zoom in a little bit and focus. Yeah. But otherwise, you're absolutely right. They're very silly things. Labels in general are silly things, right? I mean, they change as we go and as the times change, and absolutely. What is next for Cevilain?
We're busy. So this album cycle started with the first track that went out, Wrath Otherwise, and we're putting out a song every 6 weeks from the album until the album comes out. Pretty much, I would say 2/3 of the album's already queued up and ready to go. And then we're in the production side for the last couple tracks, but they're almost ready to go as well. So that'll carry us to, I believe, the 7th track comes out in February.
Wow.
Then we have, I think, 4 or 6 week kind of crossover before we go right into the next album, which will be, we're doing the 7 Deadly Sins right now, and then
you're recording that now.
Yeah, and then it will be into the 7 Heavenly Virtues for the next album, so that'll carry us until January 2026.
Wow. Well, that's exciting for all the Cevilain fans. That's exciting. Busy. Big time, knowing that you're going to get that much new music, and it sounds like it's a concept almost.
Yep.
With an overlying imagery to it, which I like. That's so fascinating. And it reminds me of like a conversation I had with Crown Lance years ago where they said, yes, you can do singles, but what about this, guys? What about doing what you want to do?
Yeah.
And what about believing in what you're doing?
Exactly.
And presenting a whole album and doing it on your agenda and your schedule. No. And that's what I like about the 6-week thing, and taking your time and letting people enjoy each song. I think that's very smart. I know some people have been a little frustrated with it because they want the next thing. But as we were talking about before, we're not that band. We're not that flash in the pan next thing. We're trying to create things that will hold up and stand up. So at the very least, we told everybody you can expect every 6 weeks you're getting something new. So enjoy the ride with a certain song for that certain period, and then you'll get the next thing. So to me, this is like something a lot of bands should be thinking about. I mean, because this is a debate. This is something I discussed with several bands on here, several people, which is, what do you do, singles or albums? I think you guys answered it. I think you guys have a great answer to that question there. And
do both.
Yes, do both and plan, people. Yeah. Plan away.
Have a plan. Yeah. Having a roadmap absolutely helps. And again, it allows you to focus on the things that you can control.
Yes.
Which is the creation of the art and the submission of the art. Everything else you have no control over. You never know how a song is going to land. You never know how a song is going to resonate with people. So if you believe in yourself, if you believe in what you're doing, just put a plan together and stick to it and work through it, and things will fall as they fall.
Thank you so much today to Cliff Menzies of Cevilain. They are a fantastic band. You must know about them, but if you don't, go and listen to them. You're gonna love it. And you know what else? I hope one day to do a show again with Cliff. I'm sure we will cross paths down the road again. Yeah. We love this community. If that didn't come across in this episode, I hope it did. And yes, so thank you so much to Cliff Menzies. Thank you to Cevilain. Thank you to you at home for watching. And we'll see you next time on All Worn Out. Bye-bye, everybody.